at number 1, it's a little anticlimactic because this is the best team in the AFC, but atop the East, of course, and in fact, all the AFC. With a 13-3 record, I say the New England Patriots are a dominant team this year. Mentioned Garoppolo can maybe undermine that a little bit if he goes 1-3, 2-2. I suspect he's going to be more along the lines of 3-1. Harmon, how say you?
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think that they'll probably start out the gate just fine with Garoppolo. I mean, they won 11 games with Matt Castle not long ago, who actually took some snaps at tight end in college. He never even took a quarterback snap. I mean, so I think they'll be fine. They have a really good weapon still. They've got Gronk. They've got Martellus Bennett, who I really do think is going to be a big factor there. And they had a nice-looking rookie, Malcolm Mitchell, who I was a big fan of in college, but he got hurt. They've got a nice collection of weapons. I think they will still score points.
Handsome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not going to argue. It'll be 92 years in a row, but if they do it again this year that they've won the AFC East, I say 13-3 might be 12-4, it might be 14-2, but it'll be somewhere in that range. I don't see any other team in that division. They all have big enough holes that they're not really going to challenge the Patriots.
I mean, the thing that I have said, for now 15 years, or at least the second half of the 15-year run of Patriots dominance in the 21st century, is for Belichick, who is supposedly, he nominally on the rise, was the defensive wizard. The defenses weren't really good, but over the last couple of years, the defense has been getting better and better, and I have a feeling that this defense might be one of the very best that Belichick has fielded since way back in the mid-aughts, when they had McGinnis, Ty Law, and the rest there. They have some great pieces there. And then the offensive weapons, you hit on it there. The highlight is Martellus Bennett now with Gronk, matchup nightmares there. Mm-hmm. And Julian Edelman's going to be back, and Amendola, we'll see what he can contribute there. And for what it's worth, Tom Brady, we know when he gets back, we know pissed Tom Brady is the most diabolical Tom Brady.
Right, that's definitely a thing.
The Jets almost made the playoffs last year. I say this year they regress to 8-8, which really isn't that big a knock. If you look up their first 5 games of the season, Emma VP, if you would, dig up their first 5 games to start the thing, and it will dampen any enthusiasm you have for their prospects in 2016. Handsome, what do you make of this of this group with Fitzmagic back in the fold?
I think they could be a wild card team. I wouldn't be at all surprised. I think their offense is better than it was. I think, second year of Todd Bowles, the defense is going to be, should be pretty good. I wouldn't be shocked. That whole division, the reason that they all have very tough schedules, they're playing the NFC West, and there's a lot of travel involved, and there's obviously some really good teams there. I think the Jets could be better than 8-8. I think the Jets could challenge for a wild card berth. You have, and I am going to spoil things, you have the Bengals and Raiders as your 2 wild card teams in the AFC. Sorry, everyone, for spoiling that surprise. And I think that the Jets could challenge maybe the Raiders, who I think you have as the 6th seed.
The Dolphins are a team that, once again, I know it's Groundhog Day for you, Handsome, not in a good way with Ryan Tannehill, but I think this, Adam Gase, people are very excited about him, and he has done good work in his last 2 stops in the NFL, including up in Chicago. And I know people have said that Tannehill, look, he got to work with Mike Sherman. Remember when people were super excited about that because that was his A&M coach, and people thought, well, that'll do it. But all right, that doesn't necessarily equate to success in the NFL because he was with Brett Favre. Maybe Gase is the real deal, and in year 5 for Ryan Tannehill, I don't think it's absurd, especially with Leonte Carew, Jarvis Landry, who is now emerging as one of the perennial most underrated guys because he's not a game breaker, but he's as a number 1 receiver, he's not great because his yards per catch.
He's not going to be asked to be their number 1 receiver.
No, but now Devontae Parker.
Right. I think that Gase's offense is going to take a little while for them all to get on the same page, and I think especially with the, like you said, with the Jets, they have a horribly tough first few weeks of the season. They go to the Seattle to begin with. They got a Patriots game. They got the Bengals. They got the Steelers early. So I think it's going to take a while for them to get going. I wouldn't be surprised if they're one of those teams that halfway through the season is really struggling and looks to move some pieces. Maybe some of those defensive players, maybe not Mario Williams, but Cam Wake, they just signed a new contract with him, but I wouldn't be surprised for them to put him on the trade block or someone like him halfway through the season and then try and acquire some picks and as they carry on a rebuilding project, which is really what this is for Gase.
All right, so I hear you, and in fact,
I think
it sounds like 7 and 9
is to me is we're closer to 5.
Bills, though, I have at 5-11. I love the offense. I love it. People say I overrate Tyrod Taylor, but Sammy Watkins. Talk about pedigree snobbery. Remember, Sammy Watkins was almost consensus better than Odell Beckham. That doesn't make it so.
I don't think it was almost consensus. I think it was
consensus. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and people say, well, that's laughable now. But Sammy Watkins, if you watched him last year, was terrific when he was out there.
Dominant down the stretch.
Yeah. I mean, they had, now you talk Charles Clay and Shady McCoy and Reggie Bush, not in a feature role, so you can hope for a few special plays out of him. The question is the defense for Rex Ryan, and no Marcel Darius to start the year. That's bad. We already talked about the 2 rookies that are going to be down. Any reason to think this team is better than where I'm putting them, Harmon?
I don't know. I agree with you. I think the defense is the biggest question, and just the attitude of the team in general. I mean, this was like almost a mutiny at the end of last year, and I don't know that Rex bringing in his brother is going to make anything that much better. The defensive pieces that they were counting on to really be starters in the draft, they're all hurt at this point. I don't know how they're any better than they were last year, and their offense, while they have, 3, like a really exciting group of triplets in Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy, when he's healthy, and Sammy Watkins, both the running back and the receiver have injury. All 3 of them really have injury questions. Right. And then beyond that, there's not a ton of depth.
Did I get my records right? Anybody want to throw out any alterations? If Garoppolo goes 3-1, I think 14-2 or maybe even 15-1 is reasonable for this team. I think Brady and company are going to come out like a house.
The only thing I would say is, like I said, with all the teams playing the NFC West and the travel that involves, that knocks people down, and they may lose something that perhaps they were expected to win just because they got to go so far.
Be afraid, NFL, if Garoppolo goes down to Arizona and wins in week 1, that might be our best hope of seeing the Patriots get a 2 seed or a 3 seed, because it looks to me like they're the clear-cut best team in a relatively soft AFC this year.